one of the most world famous Caitlin Clark haters on the planet, somebody that works for ESPN, woke Disney, Elle Duncan. Yeah. If you wanted to, you could sit down as a family with your young children, maybe even probably young girls, and watch this game. And you don't expect something like this to happen. The WNBA All-Star game was this past weekend, and she made a very, very vulgar joke during said broadcast.
Why did a joke at the WNBA All-Star game spark outrage from parents and fans alike? This isn't just about one offhand comment. It's about what it reveals about ESPN's priorities and the WNBA's evolving audience. Stick around, because we're unpacking how one harmless joke could cost the league its family-friendly reputation. Before we move on, I'd like to ask you a small favor. If you appreciate this content, please take a second to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Over 98% of you watch the videos without subscribing. It costs you nothing, but it makes a huge difference to us. So did you click the subscribe button? Great. Thank you so much. Now back to the video.
Now we know a lot of young girls, a lot of children have been drawn to the WNBA because of Caitlin Clark. I believe it is the singular reason she is so popular, because the traditional family unit. Look, when I upload a video, it asks me, is this for children? No, it is not. Okay, so then that way everybody sort of, at least the algorithm will attempt, all right, the nuclear family, let's call it, right? Dad, mom, kids, sit down, turn on the game, watch Caitlin Clark. These little girls are wild about Caitlin Clark.
The WNBA All-Star Game is supposed to be a celebration of the sport, pure talent, energy, and a chance to inspire the next generation. Families gather around the TV with young girls idolizing stars like Caitlin Clark, imagining themselves out there on the court. It's fun, uplifting, and yes, family-friendly. But that vibe didn't exactly stick when ESPN's Elle Duncan decided to drop a joke that had a lot of parents raising their eyebrows. In the middle of this wholesome moment, Duncan cracked a line about a Big D Energy award.
Outkick has a former WNBA announcer and a former Northwestern basketball player, a woman, working as their editor. Well, there was a lot of fallout around Elle Duncan's joke, and we'll listen to it in a minute. And let me just keep it real, her dick joke. And she has come out and made some comments about this. She crushes Elle Duncan into dust. And she's bringing up something very valid.
If you know, you know. For others, let's just say it didn't land in the way she might have hoped. So why did her comments stand out so much? It's not as if humor is banned from sports broadcasts, but the timing and content are key. Patricia Babcock-McGraw, a former WNBA announcer herself, pulled no punches when critiquing Duncan's remarks. She called it cringe and said it was not only inappropriate, but completely misplaced. McGraw also brought up a bigger point. What if the roles were reversed? A male announcer making a suggestive joke during a family-centered event could have easily faced greater backlash and even serious consequences.
And look, the WNBA couldn't grow all these years for one reason and one reason only. And this is what's made these players so angry. They don't want their traditional family unit to watch their games.
ESPN has a history of cutting ties with on-air talent for crossing the line. Just think about figures like Curt Schilling or even occasional suspensions for minor comments. Yet here, Duncan seemed to walk away without any real accountability. That's where things get messy. Imagine you're a parent watching with your child. Caitlin Clark, breaking records, is the perfect role model. Then out of nowhere, you're left explaining a joke about, well, things you wish weren't part of the conversation at all. It wasn't just that Duncan veered into edgy humor. It was the fact that it clashed so heavily with the audience. Duncan later defended herself, claiming that people just weren't familiar with her personality or past work. But does that really matter? The stage wasn't her podcast or a late-night comedy special. It was the WNBA All-Star broadcast, a platform meant to highlight the game and uphold its ever-growing reputation as a space for parents and kids. And here's where the stakes become real. The WNBA has spent years building a family-friendly image to draw younger fans, turning moments like this into pivotal opportunities for the league's growth. If ESPN and its commentators damage that trust, it's more than just bad optics. It risks driving away the very audience the league has worked so hard to bring in. Duncan's joke, definitely a misstep. But the real question is, how did ESPN miss what WNBA fans value most? And that brings us to the network's role in this, which might reveal an even bigger issue behind the scenes. Did ESPN protect Elle Duncan because of who she is? It's a question fans and even some commentators can't stop asking after the network's muted response to her controversial joke. When you think about ESPN's history of disciplining commentators for remarks that many would call less offensive, the silence around this incident stands out. Take Sam Ponder, for example. She called out inappropriate comments about women and still faced public fallout. Or Sage Steele, who's been sidelined for sharing personal opinions. Even Ashley Brewer, a rising star, wasn't spared when the network decided to make cuts. So why didn't Duncan face the same treatment? Some critics say it comes down to who she is within the company's ecosystem. One fiery take suggests Duncan's role as what was labeled a DEI hire might have shielded her from consequences. If true, it raises another concern. Does this mean ESPN is willing to apply different standards based on who's in the hot seat? That perception alone fuels accusations of hypocrisy, creating a sense that accountability at the network is highly selective. And for fans of the WNBA, that inconsistency hits harder because it's not just about Duncan. It's about a league trying to foster trust and a safe space for families to engage with the sport. Now consider the real-world impact here. Imagine a family tuning in to watch Caitlin Clark light up the court during a marquee event. The wonderful thing about the WNBA, parents feel encouraged to let their kids watch and dream of being the next generation of on-court legends. Then mid-broadcast, they're hit with a joke that forces an awkward moment. Instead of celebrating a role model, they're scrambling for an explanation. Does that moment make them feel welcomed by the league or alienated from it? ESPN, as the WNBA's broadcasting partner, holds massive responsibility here. Not just for ensuring game coverage, but for safeguarding the league's values. By brushing off backlash, it feels like they missed the bigger picture. And that could have long-term effects not just for fans, but for the WNBA's relationship with its key audience, families. Elle Duncan's joke might have seemed like a small slip, but it revealed a bigger problem, a disconnect between ESPN's presentation and what the WNBA's growing family audience expects. Parents tuning in to see Caitlin Clark dominate the court don't want to navigate edgy humor during a game their kids are watching. The WNBA has worked hard to build its family-friendly reputation, and protecting that image matters if they want to keep bringing in new fans. ESPN and the league both need to ask themselves one question: are they willing to prioritize what their audience values most or risk losing them altogether?